asking for today to help find that baby's family. But first, we start with Holly because Holly, yesterday was really hot, but today a little cooler.
It definitely, you're going to notice the difference and more as the day goes on. This morning we're 60s to around 70, depending on when you're watching, as I always say. And then this afternoon, we're only in the low to mid 70s, and it will feel a bit less humid. Lots of overcast skies here to start, but we are going to turn mostly sunny into the afternoon. So it'll end up very pleasant. Open up the windows, give the AC a little breather today. Can't rule out a sprinkle. That would be very isolated early. So again, if you're watching this in the afternoon, you won't have to worry about that anymore. We've got a great looking night. We've got a great looking Thursday. Tomorrow's highs will be closer to 80. And by the weekend, we're right back in that July mid 80 zone with just scattered to isolated showers, storms, partly sunny skies.
All right. Thank you so much, Holly. We appreciate you. So Holly's hopping off to head over to WTAM via phone to give them the update as well. But we start this 3 News Now in terms of the stories that we discussed with that baby and the RTA, or found in an RTA station, but more and more details are coming out. Austin, you were on that story this morning. It's confusing to me, but what happened here?
Yeah, really kind of I guess that is a good way to put it. It is kind of a confusing story where right now officials are trying to figure out just exactly whose baby this is. Are the people that are claiming to be its parents really its parents? So a lot of pieces that they're trying to put together. And right now officials are really calling out to the community first for if you recognize this baby. And Ryan, our digital producer, will put the story in the comments. If you recognize this baby, they're asking for you to come forward just with any tips, and also just with any tips regarding anything within this situation. So we'll kind of break it down for you with this child that they found in an RTA in Cleveland. They're right now calling it Baby Doe because they simply just don't know its name. But this all started Saturday evening, just before 9 p.m. A woman called 911 saying that she noticed a man at a bus stop at 105th Street and Superior Avenue. And then this man was carrying a naked baby whose feet were actually turning purple. The police arrived on scene. The man refused to identify himself and said that the baby's name was Rambo. And police ended up identifying this man as a 67-year-old man named Bernie Anderson. And he and Bernie Anderson also had a felony warrant for a parole violation. So that's one component to the story. And then the second is also their police right now are looking for a woman who they're saying is a person of interest in this situation, where she was across the street from the scene, also confronted police claiming to be Bernie's wife and also mother of Baby Doe. So we also have a picture of her on our website. And again, police just looking for bring her in for questioning, as she is a person of interest within this case. But the good news for the child is that the baby is safe in foster care. They took it to UH for some medical checkups. She is completely safe and healthy at this point. And again, right now, I think the biggest stressor is, there's the picture of little Baby Doe right now, and such a cutie, had a full head of hair. Looking good there. And so the officials are looking for help, obviously, from the community to try identify her. So if you know the identity of this child, they're asking you to call 696 kids, or also just contact your law enforcement agency to hopefully, and that's the mother that they're also looking for, who's considered a person of interest in this as well. So it's a confusing story, but just really hoping to put some pieces together so that we can identify this child and hopefully bring her back to her parents.
So again, like Austin said, this is the woman that is the person of interest that they are looking for. This is again on WKYC.com. And this is the little baby who, they are trying to identify who she really is, or the child really is. So we again have this story on WKYC.com for those of you who are watching on YouTube. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, but we also have another talker with the Olympics. A lot of stuff going on here. Our women's soccer team losing, and that's a big story. Right there, we have the story on Facebook if you are watching, as well as WKYC.com. But a lot of stuff overnight with the Olympics. Dave, I know you're on top of that. What's going on?
Yeah, a lot to get to. Let's start though with what you just talked about, because this was one of those like stunners. When I first saw it, Ryan sent it to us on our phone right before, right as our show was ending this morning, and I was like, I had to take a double take because U.S. women dominate in soccer. They had won 44 straight matches. That's an unbeaten streak heading in. Think about that, 44. They were the favorite to win gold here in the Olympics, and they are stunned as Sweden beats them 3-0. So I haven't had time to dig into what happened or, to break it down. I just can tell you that, give you a little bit of the history of the team and tell you that they lost. So that's stunning right there. Overnight, you also had, so obviously the opening ceremony comes your way Friday morning right after go, right? But some sports, as we mentioned, have already started soccer there. You also had overnight softball overnight, and Team USA, good news there, won their first game against Italy. Italy's the 9th ranked team. The U.S. is the defending world champs. This is the first time we've seen softball in the game since 2008. And the sport, it's making its return along with baseball. So I love that because my favorite sport growing up was baseball. So good to see softball and baseball back. USA's next game is against Canada at 8. And the last thing I want to finish with, we also had that startling announcement yesterday from the chief of the Tokyo Olympics organizing committee. He said he's not ruling out a last-minute cancellation of the games with the rising number of COVID cases. He says at this point, coronavirus cases may rise or fall, so we'll have to think about what we should do when the situation arises. So, I mean, this is really fascinating, really, when you think about, there was so much talk about whether to have the games or not have the games, and now just 2 days before the opening ceremony, still talking about it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you hear the line that the athletes, they have to compete against themselves pretty much to get a better score or whatnot, make sure that their body is in peak condition. Then they have to compete against the competitors. And then they're also have this foe of COVID-19. And it's like, could you imagine being an athlete? I know I played sports in high school. I wasn't very good, but average. And so just all the training that goes into this. And then let's say you start the game and it's like, sorry, we're over. Like, how likely do you all think, in your guess, I know we're not experts or anything on that, but that this may happen mid-Olympics? They say, yeah, COVID is too bad, so I'm done. We're done.
Well, someone said to me yesterday, nothing will surprise, this person said, nothing will surprise me anymore with what we've lived through, right? So, I mean, I don't think it would be a surprise necessarily, but I can't imagine it would happen. I remember reading an article, when it comes to the money and the effort and the work that goes into this, it was already postponed from last year. So, listening to the, I just don't think it's going to happen. That said, don't hold me to it because we might be coming on talking about it happening. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. What, like the point that you bring up about the money. I just remember us even reporting about Tokyo, how they were building all of this years in advance and doing things to get the city ready for the Olympics. So you'd want to keep people safe, of course, but if it does get canceled, it's like, whoa, all of the money that was tied up into this. But you can't risk people's health and safety. So we shall see and continue to be on top of that.
Well, so one last note too, Danielle, and we're talking today. You don't know what might happen, a week from now. I mean, does that make sense? So like predicting it, right now, but, things could change as we've seen. So, I don't know. It's a tough one.
You guys brought up money.
Have an opinion on it?
Well, you guys brought up the aspect of money too, and something that you got to put your self in the mind frame of what's happening over in Japan too. There was a Washington Post article that came up yesterday that Japan is bracing for a $20 million loss. Like the city of Tokyo thought they were going to make all this money. Think about when we lose events here in Cleveland, especially during the pandemic, and we talk about the economic impact. There's no fans. There is, not a lot of hype around it there. Toyota, who spends millions, billions on advertising during something like the Super Bowl, won't advertise in Tokyo during the Olympics.
Wow.
So they don't have ads up in Tokyo because they don't want to be associated with it. There's a little stigmatism happening over there with holding the games. And so you're looking at a big economic loss. I don't even know if 20 million puts any sort of really dent in what's actually happening when you think about it. But that was a point that they brought up. So thinking of that aspect, I mean, in Tokyo, I'm just wondering, and I don't know for sure, but when you talk about, oh, well, they cancel the games. Well, over there, there's a lot of people that aren't happy that it's happening.
That's true.
So if they're the ones in charge, I mean, the IOC is going to be the one who makes the call, but I don't know. I mean, how much will Tokyo fight to keep them going? How much will they say like, oh, we don't want this to be the mar on our record? So I don't know. I thought that was interesting yesterday that popped up.
Yeah, well, opening ceremonies start Friday, and we'll have that right here on WKYC.com right after go at 7 a.m. But as Dave said, and as we were saying all morning, some of the sports have already started playing, like the U.S. women's soccer team that lost to Sweden today. And we will continue to track this story and see. And that's a good point that you bring up of just like the losses and pretty much the stigmatism over there in Tokyo of what it's like, because we don't know, because we can't go.
Right, and here we're excited. I mean, here we're ready to see the games, but we're not living in the epicenter of where it is happening.
Yeah. Well, for those right now, the games are still going on, and they are today. So we do have a live stream on WKYC.com if you want to watch the Olympic activities. We'll have that up every day. So if you go to WKYC.com, you will see it right there on our home screen. Well, we hope you have an amazing Wednesday. You'll see Dave, Mo, and Holly during the Today Show. The rest of us will see you tomorrow morning starting at 4:30 on Go. Have a great day, everybody.